Mr. Speaker, sir, I move that the Road Traffic Amendment Bill number 7 of 2024 be read a second time. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Road Traffic Act is a complex legislation encompassing various transport-related matters, including but not limited to the registration, licensing, and examination of vehicles, as well as road safety matters. The Act also caters for the powers and functions of the National Land Transport Authority, which is the land transport regulator. The last time the Act was amended in July 2023, it was done to improve the standard and the level of bus services, streamline the licensing process in connection with the public service vehicle licenses at the level of the NLTA, as well as to review the cumulative road traffic offences system. Mr. Speaker, sir, connectivity and mobility are crucial for the socio-economic development of a country, acting as an enabler, linking producers to markets, workers to jobs, students to schools, the sick to hospitals, and people to leisure. My ministry, to ensure the freedom of movement of our citizens, responds to the mobility needs of our citizens by ensuring island-wide connectivity through public transportation. Mr. Speaker, sir, the number of registered vehicles on our road network as at April 2024 stands at 686,704,000, and there is an average increase of 4% annually. Ownership of a vehicle is no more a luxury, but a tool for enhanced mobility, and we can expect the number of private vehicles on our roads to maintain an increasing trend. Mr. Speaker, sir, with the increase in number of registered vehicles on our roads, the number of transactions in connection to the change of ownership of vehicles has also increased over the past years. In turn, this has resulted in sharp increase in the number of persons calling at the NLTA for the registration of their motor vehicles, as for the issue of a certificate de gage, resulting in long awaiting queues at the level of the NLTA. We are very well aware of the hassles faced by the public whenever they call at the NLTA, and this is why we have come up with several remedial measures to reduce the queuing time and enhance the customer experience. For this reason, we are investing heavily in digitalizing NLTA services, as we are keen on leveraging on IT solutions to streamline processes and for seamless operations. Mr. Speaker, sir, the renewal of motor vehicle license, also commonly referred as déclaration, is among one of the transactions for which countless of owners of motor vehicles call at the NLTA on a daily basis. In fact, even if phase 1 of the online renewal of MVL is operational since November 28 in respect of private-owned motor vehicles, that is some 350,000 vehicles, members of the public still prefer to call at the NLTA counters, and as we are moving towards an increased reliance on e-services, it has been decided to set a cut-off date of 31st of July 2024, wherein all renewal of MVL will have to be made only to the online platform instead at NLTA counters. However, in order to cater for a smooth transition towards online services, a delay of up to 1st of December 2024 will be provided for such transactions to be physically effected at the post offices. In order to assist the public during this transaction, a help desk is being set up at the level of the NLTA to assist users who might have issues while using the online system. On the other hand, phase 2 of the online MVL platform involving other types of vehicles is expected to go live before the end of this year. Similarly, as we intend to push for e-services, an online first registration of motor vehicles was launched in May 2023, wherein 4 major dealers are now using this digital tool, and additional vehicle dealers will be encouraged to make use of this platform for registration of motor vehicles, and in turn, this will reduce the need for individuals to physically call at the NLTA. This system will be further enhanced to allow for electronic payment. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have to acknowledge, Amidst the constant increase in the number of transactions recorded on a daily basis, that the NLTA was not adequately manned to cope with the increasing workload, and this had an impact on the level of service. However, we did remain aloof, and necessary actions were promptly initiated to reinforce the staffing position of the NLTA with the posting of additional officers to serve its counters. Accordingly, the number of officers at the counters have been increased from 27 to 69, so that all the 51 counters of the NLTA, including those at its sub-officers, could operate seamlessly. Monsieur le Président, c'est dans cette optique que la NLTA a mis en place des guichets spéciaux dédiés à mettre des certificats de gage sans déplacement au bâtiment Emmanuel Antil à Port-Louis, afin de pouvoir traiter plus d'applications, mais aussi pour éviter à ce que les personnes se déplacent à 2 reprises entre la NLTA de Cassis et le bureau du Registrar général. On a connu un bon début, mais par la suite, au fur et à mesure, avec le nombre grandissant d'applications à traiter quotidiennement, le système est dépassé et nous a poussé à venir avec des solutions plus appropriées afin de mieux répondre aux besoins du public. So this is where this bill comes into play, as the various clauses therein aim at improving current procedures pertaining to the transfer of ownership of vehicles. Furthermore, the road safety issue being high on our agenda, and in order to further curb down the number of road casualties, this bill is coming with various amendments to dissuade road users from committing road traffic violations. Mr. Speaker, sir, as detailed in the explanatory memorandum, this bill intends to cater for situations witnessing the transfer of ownership between 2 individuals and whereby no certificate de gage sans déplacement will be required from the NLTA for the registration of the transfer of ownership by the Registrar General. Instead, the transfer in the ownership of that motor vehicle will be registered, provided that the Registrar General is satisfied, following verification on the database of the NLTA, that the motor vehicle or trailer bears no lien. Secondly, allow for the use of structures and objects that are during a procession carried, pushed, pulled, or led on a road to be properly regulated. Thirdly, increase penalties with regard to some offences. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Road Traffic Act 1962 is the overarching piece of legislation regulating traffic on our roads. It also permeates to road safety and provides for a number of road traffic offences in order to maintain orderly use of our road infrastructure. It is apposite to note that given the dynamic nature of transport operations, coupled with evolution in the field of road safety, the Road Traffic Act had over the past decade been amended on various occasions to make it more stringent for road users not observing the various provisions therein with a view to making our roads safer. In the same vein, and with a view to curing some gaps in the legislation, in 2019, the Act was amended to make it an offence for a person to drive a vehicle whilst being under the influence of a drug or an intoxicating substance. The law came in force in June 2022, and since then, Mr. Speaker, sir, 165 cases have been registered for the period of June 2022 to December 2022. 892 cases have been registered for year 2023, and 219 cases have been registered only for January and February 2024. With the rise in the rate of motorization, sir, and increased mobility in our country, and the limited road space to accommodate same, congestion is one of our main concern, and we need to ensure that this space is used in a safe manner by all our road users. Added to that, Mr. Speaker, sir, it has been observed that during some festivals, the traffic fluidity on our roads is further reduced, mainly to mass convergence towards specific locations. This situation is aggravated by the conveyance of oversized structures causing traffic delays, which at times poses road safety risk, and we could not remain impassible to this situation. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is with deep regret that we witness the tragic demise of several young people for the past 2 years, mainly due to processions involving structures and public roads. These two incidents, which have left an indelible imprint in our memory and which was very distressing to the whole nation. Unfortunately, as it stands today, there is no specific and binding provisions in place as regards the use of such structures or objects which are carried, pushed, pulled, or led during a procession on a road. To that end, in order to address this gap in our legislation, we had to make relevant provisions for regulating the conveyance of such structures. This is why we have introduced this bill, as we do not wish such incidents to occur anew. Mr. Speaker, sir, the average number of fatal road accidents taken over the last 5 years is 126. Since last year, we have observed a rise whereby it reached 130 in 2023, with 138 killed on our road. Unfortunately, the trend during this year is still on the rise and has reached 61 for period starting 1st January this year to 16th of June. We have also observed that the most vulnerable road users are usually motorcyclists, representing 45% of all fatalities, followed by pedestrians, accounting for 23% of fatalities. This is due to the direct physical exposure to impacts during a road crash. It is also to be noted that most of our accidents are caused due to reckless behavior by motorists and pedestrians. This is why we are coming with bold measures aiming to make our roads safer and to act as a stronger deterrent against rash and negligent behaviors. Mr. Speaker, sir, it was also found that the age group of motorcyclists who are most at risk are within the age band of 16 to 30 years old, representing 43% of all motorcycle fatalities, followed by the age group of 31 to 45 years. It has also been observed that 30% of all killed and serious injury crashes involve holders of provisional driving license, learner as we call them, and 16% were riding without a driving license. The causes of crashes are many, with the main contributing causes being overspeeding as well as drink and drug driving. Mr. Speaker, sir, in addition to enforcement, my ministry is also favouring engineering and education as its strategy to enhance the level of safety on our roads. A safe system approach has been adopted by the TMRSU while implementing infrastructural projects so as to make our roads more forgiving. What this means, Mr. Speaker, is that the road safety strategy is much broader as it encapsulates several considerations, such as improvement of road furniture and detailed reconfigurations are planned and executed to reduce the probability and severity of accidents. Laws have been strengthened in the past years, and let me share some information with the House with regard to the outcome thereof. During year 2023, some 263,348 road traffic contraventions were established. For year 2024, and as at end of May, 125,955 such contraventions have already been issued. Under the cumulative road traffic offence system for the year 2022, the driving license of 30 persons were cancelled and they were disqualified for driving. 31 licenses were cancelled in 2023, and for the year 2024, as at 17th of June, the number of disqualified licenses amounts to 13. Mr. Speaker, sir, the figures speak for themselves. And at the level of my ministry, we are aiming to change the mindset and attitude of road users through a multi-pronged approach comprising education and awareness, improvement of road infrastructure, and use of intelligent systems to track down road traffic violations. Improvement of our road infrastructure and enforcement are ongoing in terms of massive investments in improving our road furniture and in the installation of road safety devices. Mr. Speaker, sir, Belisha beacons our regular features to better warn road users on pedestrian crossing. And we raise tables are being installed across the island to reduce speeding and enhance safety at junctions. We also invested significantly in equipping our roads with safety measures to enhance visibility, reviewed signage and markings, as well as a continued treatment of hazardous spots. Same goes for awareness and sensitization. Several infrastructural upgrades have been made in various regions across the island to improve the road design and the installation of protective equipment to enhance road safety. In fact, Mr. Speaker, sir, during the last 2 financial years, some 189 million rupees were spent for acquisition of road safety assets and works, while an amount of 236 million rupees was utilized during the course of this present financial year to implement various road safety projects comprising of acquisition of traffic lights and speed cameras, traffic signage equipment and Belisha beacons blinking lights, construction of bus laybys for safe embarkation and alighting of passengers, traffic calming measures, construction of delineators, crash barriers and hard shoulders, and construction of footpaths, walkways and drains. In tandem, several communication campaigns were made on social media and wide dissemination in the press. We even organized a Road Safety Week in November 2023, targeting young persons, and where road safety measures ventilated to various segments of the population. The campaigns were framed to reach out to the population and contain messages aiming to raise awareness on road safety issues, including the road-rail interaction. Mr. Speaker, sir, the fact remains that in spite of all the efforts of government to make our roads safer, the statistics regarding fatal accidents have been almost stagnant, fluctuating around 126 killed per year. This therefore rings a bell towards a revision of our strategy, including reviewing our legal framework, as our objective is to reverse the trend of fatal accidents. My ministry and the police force have been working together, and the causes of the accidents have been analyzed, and it has been found that in most cases, accidents occur as a result of reckless and heedless behavior. Monsieur le Président, malheureusement, l'attitude et le comportement sont deux choses très difficiles à changer auprès des adultes. On n'a d'autre choix que de rendre nos lois plus sévères, d'augmenter les pénalités tout en faisant de la conscientisation soutenue, ainsi que d'améliorer nos infrastructures afin d'éviter mort d'homme en cas d'accident. Ceci dit, Monsieur le Président, on continuera à enseigner à nos enfants les bonnes pratiques et les bases du Code de la route. C'est dans cet élan que mon ministère, en collaboration avec le ministère de l'Éducation, de l'Enseignement supérieur, de la Science et de la Technologie, ont travaillé ensemble pour le développement d'un programme d'études sur la sécurité routière. I seize this opportunity to announce that the Continuum to Road Safety Education program is now a reality. Road safety education is being inculcated to primary school children of grade 1 to 6, for which 853 teachers were trained, of which 509 holistic teachers, 86,000 road safety books have been published and distributed to students of grade 1 to 6. Practical sessions on road safety are also being imparted to those students by the Road Safety Unit of the TMRSU. Additionally, the road safety materials have been digitalized and 28 animated videos for 28 lessons have been produced for grade 1 and 20 animated videos for 20 lessons for grade 2. 31 digital learning resources for 28 lessons for grade 1 and 3, and 23 digital learning resources for 20 lessons for grade 2 have also been developed. We are going a step further, as we will shortly introduce road safety education as from the pre-primary in order to instill among our school children the tenets of road safety and the responsibilities devolved upon road users. Mr. Speaker, sir, inculcating road safety culture to enable a change in behavior and attitude on our roads is a process that will reap its benefit over time. in the immediate, sensitization and enforcement have to be further strengthened so as to ensure compliance with the laws in place with a view to limit death toll on our roads. It is exactly in this context that we are reviewing existing penalties and revisiting some provisions of the Act throughout this bill. Allow me now to elaborate more into details the different clauses of this bill. Mr. Speaker, sir, during Mahashivratri 2023, an unfortunate incident took place wherein 2 people lost their lives when one Karwar caught fire after coming into contact with high voltage electricity cables. Guidelines were thereafter issued prior to Mahashivratri 2024 with a view to restricting the conveyance of oversized Karwar along public roads. However, the guidelines were not fully complied with by everyone, unfortunately, sir, resulting in a similar accident in 2024, wherein 7 lives were lost. Those 2 incidents, indeed, caused immense sadness among the whole nation. And in order for us not to witness such incident in the future, a proper framework has to be established to cater for processions. This Act is being amended to enable regulations to be made on processions along our roads. Therefore, Clause 3 of the bill, through Clause 3 of the bill, provision is being made for a broader definition of the word traffic. The words, quote, structures or objects being carried, pushed, pulled, or led during a procession are therefore being added to the definition of the word traffic. Sir, subsequently through Clause 10 of the bill, it has been provided as follows. A police officer would be vested with such powers as may be necessary for enforcement purposes, including the movement of structures or objects being carried, pushed, pulled, or led during a procession. The permissible size of the structures would be established thereafter by way of new regulations after the bill is enacted. Monsieur le Président, je souhaite préciser que tout type de procession seront réglementés et que cette loi ne se limitera pas seulement aux processions religieuses. Mr. Speaker, sir, presently there are some 51,000 certificats de gage sans déplacement issued by the NLTA on a yearly basis for the purpose of sale of vehicles. A certificate de gage sans déplacement is a document issued to the owner of a vehicle upon sale of a vehicle, certifying whether or not the said vehicle is burdened with a lien in line with Article 2110 of the Code Civil Mauricien. The sale of a vehicle involves three processes. 1, the issue of the certificate de gage sans déplacement manually effected by the NLTA. Then, the registration of the vehicle and payment thereof, which is effected seamlessly online by the Registrar General. And thirdly, finally, the transfer of the ownership and the issue of the registration book manually at the level of the NLTA. Being given that the Registrar General already operates an enabling platform which caters for the taxation and registration of vehicles, the draft bill through Clause 4 would allow the registration of vehicles between the 2 individuals without the need to produce a certificate de gage sans déplacement at the level of the Registrar General. Mr. Speaker, sir, it has also been observed that in many cases, the change in ownership, precisely the registration of the horsepower in the name of the new owner, was not done within the prescribed time of 14 days, in line with Section 6(1)(a)(4) of the Act, leading to situations where the sale was not validly registered or where the horsepower was not amended to reflect the change in ownership to the name of the true owner, and which is commonly known as papier blanc. Many such cases have been reported, wherein the new owners did not register the change in ownership and where offences were committed with the car resulting in previous owners being served notices or apprehended by the police. To ensure compliance with the law, provision is therefore being made for the introduction of penalties for defaulters. As such, Mr. Speaker, sir, any person who would be contravening Section 1A(4) would, upon first conviction, be liable to a fine not less than 25,000 rupees and would not exceeding 50,000 rupees. Upon second conviction, a person would be liable to a fine of not less than 50,000 rupees and not exceeding 100,000 rupees. Whereas on a third and subsequent conviction, a person would be liable to a fine not less than 100,000 rupees and to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 2 years. Mr. Speaker, sir, in order to enable the online verification of liens at the level of the Registrar General, Clause 5 of the bill would cater for the verification of any lien on a motor vehicle or trailer prior to the registration and transfer of ownership of same. As regards to the issue of horsepower, same would still be undertaken by the NLT. In order for the new process to be efficient, the Registrar General would have access to the NLT database, and in that effect, sharing of information among the two institutions would be lawfully allowed through Clause 6 of the bill. Accordingly, Clause 13 of the bill provides for the waiving of the current fees of 50 rupees for the issue of the certificat de gage sans déplacement. Mr. Speaker, sir, increase in fatal road accidents is mainly due to careless driving and riding behavior. Despite having proper laws and penalties to dissuade people to drive under the influence of alcohol, drugs, or other intoxicating substances, in year 2023, 603 cases of positive cases of drunken driving was recorded. As regards driving under the influence of drug, as I just mentioned above, 892 cases of driving under the influence of drug were recorded in year 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, it has been brought to our attention that people involved in such cases at times refuse to provide a specimen of their breath for a breath test for analysis, or a specimen of blood or urine, or both for a laboratory test when required to do so, pursuant to Section 123F, 123G or H of the Road Traffic Act. In such cases, no specific time frame was set for the police to make an application to a magistrate to summon a person whenever the person suspected to be driving under the influence of alcohol, drugs, or intoxicating substances refuses to provide a specimen of his breath, of his urine, or blood for testing. In view thereof, Mr. Speaker, sir, Clause 7 of the bill provides for the police to make such application within a prescribed time frame of 30 days now. Concurrently, the penalty for the above would be amended as such that when found guilty by a magistrate, the disqualification period for driving a motor vehicle would be not less than 4 months, but not exceeding 8 months, instead of a period not exceeding 2 months from the date of the order. Mr. Speaker, sir, sadly, illegal road racing has become much of a phenomenon amongst youngsters, especially among motorcyclists, which has led to serious accidents and even fatal ones. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have had several cases recently, Mr. Speaker, sir, in the south, at Riambel, near Tribeca, a few days ago, whereby our young people lost their lives as a result of being involved in road racing. The prevailing maximum fine of 1,000 rupees upon conviction under Section 125 of the Act, apart from being reasonably low, is no more seen as a deterrent for those participating in illegal road racing. Clause 8 of the bill, therefore, provides for an increase in fine with a minimum of not less than 10,000 rupees, but not exceeding 25,000 rupees on a first conviction, of a fine not less than 25,000 rupees, but not exceeding 50,000 rupees on a second conviction, and a fine not less than 5,000 rupees, but not exceeding 100,000 rupees, and to imprisonment for a period not exceeding 2 years for a third or subsequent conviction. Mr. Speaker, sir, this increase in fine will definitely act as a major deterrent to illegal rally participants. Mr. Speaker, sir, moreover, participation in illegal road racing activities, or in case a person fails to comply with such conditions imposed by the Commissioner of Police during a road racing event, this would constitute an offence and will be captured under the road traffic cumulative offence, implying that one will be at a higher risk of being disqualified from driving a motor vehicle or holding a license. Mr. Speaker, sir, under the Road Traffic Act, the penalties for various offences have been well defined. However, due to the complexity of the Act and the wide coverage it has had on traffic offences, penalties relating to some offences have not been specifically defined. In such cases, Section 1631B of the Act provides for any person who commits an offence under this Act shall, on conviction, be liable where no special penalty is provided, to a fine not exceeding 100,000 rupees and to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 5 years. The third schedule of the Act presently provides for 11 offences under the cumulative road traffic offences system, and the number of cumulative road traffic offences for which a person is liable to disqualification from driving is 4 within a period of 24 months now. With a view to providing stronger sanctions, Clause 11 of the bill provides for 12 additional road traffic offences under the third schedule of the Act, which are considered crucial for road safety, that is to say, additional offences, all directly related to road safety, would now be captured under the cumulative road traffic offences, implying that drivers and road users, be it motorists or two-wheelers, would now have to be more cautious and be wary of their actions and conduct on the roads, as they run the risk of having their licenses cancelled. Monsieur le Président, les lois ne doivent pas rester figées et se doivent d'être revues dans le temps. Nous ne pouvons et ne devrions pas cautionner l'immobilisme concernant la sécurité routière, et ce, quel que soit le contexte. Le but, Monsieur le Président, est de nous assurer que les amendes aient un effet des plus dissuasifs, car vous allez convenir que maintenant, le même montant sur une période étendue n'aurait jamais le même impact sur le comportement des usagers de la route. Il y a des pénalités qui sont restées inchangées pendant plusieurs années, c'est-à-dire depuis 2018. Comme illustration, Monsieur le Président, le montant fixé pour le délit de overtaking or passing a vehicle which has stopped at a pedestrian crossing a été revu de 1 000 roupies à 5 000 roupies. Monsieur le Président, il est inconcevable qu'un délit de cette envergure, c'est-à-dire dépasser une voiture qui s'est arrêtée devant un passage clouté pour permettre les piétons de traverser sur ce passage clouté, et vient cet imprudent qui overtake cette voiture qui s'est arrêtée devant le passage clouté pour permettre à un enfant ou un piéton de traverser sur le passage clouté, Monsieur le Président. Il est inconcevable qu'un délit de cette envergure et qui a causé la mort de plusieurs personnes reste à 1 000 roupies, reste inchangé, Monsieur le Président. C'est pour cette raison que nous nous sommes attelés à réactualiser le montant de certains fixed penalties dans un souci d'ajuster les pénalités pour mieux refléter la gravité de certains manquements des usagers de la route. De même, Monsieur le Président, le délit de failing to allow free and uninterrupted passage to a pedestrian using a crossing. Quel est ce délit, Monsieur le Président? Failing to allow free and uninterrupted passage to a pedestrian using a crossing. C'est-à-dire, Monsieur le Président, quand un piéton est en train de traverser le passage clouté, le crossing, comme on dit, vous venez, vous, imprudent que vous êtes, you fail to allow ce piéton son free passage sur ce passage clouté, Monsieur le Président. Je connais un cas, 3 semaines de cela, à Tamarin, Monsieur le Président, une écolière dont je connais les parents, traversant le passage clouté, heurté par un monsieur imprudent, un conducteur ivre, 8h30, 9h du matin, Monsieur le Président. Failing to allow free and uninterrupted passage to a pedestrian. Ce délit était sujet à une pénalité de 1500 roupies, Monsieur le Président. Cette fille a passé 3 semaines à la clinique. Heureusement, il n'a pas eu plus de grave que ça, Monsieur le Président. Elle a été hospitalisée pendant plusieurs semaines, a dû évidemment ne pas aller à l'école, à ses classes. Qu'est-ce qu'on fait maintenant aujourd'hui avec cet amendement? Nous augmentons cette amende, cette pénalité de 1500 roupies à 3000 roupies, Monsieur le Président. Parce que nous ne pouvions cautionner ce genre de comportement qui consiste à mettre en danger la vie des innocents piétons. Et là, je répète, plusieurs personnes ont péri sur nos routes par la faute de certains automobilistes qui ne respectent pas les consignes de sécurité routière, et nous ne pouvons plus maintenir le statu quo et ne prendre aucune action envers ceux agissant de façon responsable et démontrant un manque total de considération envers les personnes les plus vulnérables sur nos routes, que sont les 2 roues et les piétons. D'ailleurs, c'est avec peine, comme je viens de vous dire, Monsieur le Président, nous constatons de temps en temps un accident impliquant des piétons sur des passages cloutés, ce qui est vraiment outrageant, Monsieur le Président. Alors, même la Cour a donné raison à les autorités. Nous enjoignons d'être plus sévères envers les personnes faisant fi des règles élémentaires de bonne conduite. Et là, Monsieur le Président, comment passer sous silence un jugement qui a été rendu par la Cour suprême 2 semaines de cela? Je ne vais pas citer le nom de l'accusé, Monsieur le Président, parce que le prévenu avait fait rappel contre ce jugement à la Cour suprême, condamné par la Cour intermédiaire à 3 mois de prison, en sus d'être disqualifié par la Cour suprême, par la Cour intermédiaire en premier lieu, et il a fait une demande, il a été condamné il a été disqualifié pendant une durée de 6 mois. Cet accident, Monsieur le Président, avait causé la mort d'une personne par la faute d'un chauffeur sous l'influence de l'alcool. Il avait fait appel contre ce jugement auprès de la Cour suprême. C'est-à-dire, son avocat lui a conseillé de faire appel parce que le jugement de la Cour intermédiaire, le condamnant d'abord à 3 mois de prison, et le disqualifiant pour 6 mois, d'après son avocat, était excessive, ou probablement wrong in law, in principle. Donc il fait appel à la Cour suprême, Monsieur le Président. Et voyons ce qui ressort du jugement éclairé de la Cour suprême. Et la Cour suprême n'est pas allée avec le dos de la cuillère à l'encontre de cet accusé, de ce prévenu. Malgré que son avocat ait plaidé pour une révision de la sentence qui, d'après lui, était manifestly harsh and excessive in principle, la Cour suprême, dans toute sa sagesse, n'a pas accédé à sa requête. Pire, Monsieur le Président, au contraire, vu que la personne avait un taux d'alcoolémie 4 fois au lieu de la limite autorisée. La Cour n'a pas été tendre, n'est pas allée de la même ordre et a eu ceci à dire. We cannot, I quote, Monsieur le Président, we cannot obliterate the likely devastating impact of the appellant's reckless action and lack of responsibility on the victim and the victim's wife and family. De plus, Monsieur le Président, en finale, la Cour a statué que la période de disqualification initiale ordonnée par la Cour intermédiaire de l'ordre de 6 mois n'était nullement appropriée et a révisé cette sentence à la hausse en augmentant la période de 6 mois, tenez-vous bien, Monsieur le Président, à 3 ans. Oui, Monsieur le Président, 3 ans de disqualification, alors que le prévenu et son avocat contestaient que la sentence rendue par la Cour intermédiaire était manifestement harsh. Et laissez-moi citer ce que la Cour avait eu à dire. It is high time that people understand that drunk driving will be severely dealt with. This court will focus on holding individuals accountable for reckless behavior of drunk driving, which leads to loss of life. The sentence meted out should reflect the severity of the offense and serve as a deterrent to others in the future. End of quote, Monsieur le Président. De même, c'est pourquoi il est inconcevable que certaines pénalités demeurent inchangées, et ce malgré le fluxion du temps. Je tiens fermement à démentir certaines mauvaises langues qui affirment que la révision des pénalités a d'autres motifs. Non, Monsieur le Président. Le but de ces amendements est de protéger nos enfants, notre population, nos écoliers, nos étudiants, nos vieux, nos piétons contre les personnes irresponsables au volant et surtout ceux qui sont les plus à risque. Nous ne voulons pas faire de la politique sur les victimes d'accidents de la route. Et j'invite les membres de l'autre côté de la Chambre à faire preuve de retenue quand la sécurité routière est l'affaire de nous tous, quand nous sommes tous des usagers de la route et à certains moments, nous sommes même des piétons, des cyclistes et des motocyclistes. Monsieur le Président, il faut souligner que sur 204 offenses figurant sur la liste des fixed penalties, seulement une trentaine sont en train d'être vues. Il est totalement faux de faire croire que nous voulons pénaliser qui que ce soit. Au contraire, si nous pouvions résumer ce projet de loi, on pourrait le faire en un seul mot. Continuer à protéger. Oui, Monsieur le Président, protéger la population contre les personnes irresponsables. Une minorité, probablement, ceux qui ne respectent pas le code de la route et démontrent une absence de courtoisie contre ceux qui conduisent sous l'emprise de l'alcool ou de la drogue et que grâce aux amendements récents, nous pouvons mieux sévir contre eux. Je n'ai aucun doute, Monsieur le Président, que la population dans son ensemble s'alignera sur la position du gouvernement en ce qu'il s'agit du durcissement de la loi envers ceux qui mettent en péril la vie des gens sur nos routes. Nous rejetons toute forme de conduite dangereuse, telle que le non-respect du code de la route, des panneaux de signalisation et la conduite irresponsable et irréfléchie. Par rapport aux fixed penalties, Monsieur le Président, en toute humilité, nous avons revu notre copie. En ce faisant, nous avons été à l'écoute de la population et nous avons fait des ajustements là où il fallait. C'est justement pour cela que le montant de certains délits, la pénalité concernant certains délits, a été réaligné et le montant des pénalités revu. Nous avons aussi, autant que possible, aligné les offenses du même type sur le même barème, et ce, dans un souci de proportionnalité, tout en tenant compte, comme je l'avais mentionné plus haut, que certains montants n'avaient pas été révisés depuis belle lurette et il fallait réajuster les pénalités. Par exemple, pour une offense aussi sérieuse que le non-port de la ceinture de sécurité, l'amende a dû être révisée car il a été constaté en moyenne au cours de ces dernières années qu'environ 8 passagers se trouvant les sièges arrière périssent dans les accidents, Monsieur le Président. D'ailleurs, dans un souci de mieux s'armer contre la sécurité routière, nous n'avons pas lésiné sur les moyens pour construire un state-of-the-art forensic laboratory au coût d'environ 800 millions de roupies, ce qui démontre de manière sans équivoque l'engagement de notre Premier ministre pour ce State of the Art Forensic Laboratory a été commandité par le bureau du Premier ministre, qui démontre son engagement, notre engagement envers la sécurité de nos concitoyens sur nos routes. Qu'est-ce que je veux dire, Monsieur le Président, quand je parle d'un State of the Art Forensic Laboratory? Et pourquoi je saisis cette occasion pour en parler? Parce que cela nous a permis de procéder à des tests plus poussés pour détecter la présence de substances illicites dans le sang des automobilistes, Monsieur le Président. Et là, dans un cas, le FSL a pu déceler plus de 8 types de drogues, 8 types de drogues dans le sang d'un usager de la route. Et cela démontre d'abord toute cette imprudence, Monsieur le Président, et toute cette volonté à faire de notre part nos routes un espace plus sûr. 219 cas ont été positifs. Et dans 60% des cas, Monsieur le Président, écoutez-moi bien, dans 60% des cas, plusieurs types de drogues ont été décelés et plusieurs personnes ont été testées positives à plusieurs types de drogues à la fois. Et certainement, Monsieur le Président, comment pouvons-nous montrer plus de laxisme sur ce sujet? Et les chiffres nous réconfortent dans notre tâche qui est de faire de nos routes plus sûres. In fact, Mr. Speaker, out of 424 samples analyzed up to June 2023, 339, écoutez-moi, Monsieur le Président, sur 424, 339 analysis demonstrated that these drug users were poly-drug users, having a minimum of 2 drugs and a maximum of 6 drugs in their blood at the time of the commission of a road traffic offense. Monsieur le Président, can you imagine a driver on our roads, La Bourdonnais Street, I don't know, Rose Hill somewhere, driving on one of our roads with 6 types of drug in his blood at the time that he is on the wheel, at the wheel of his car, Mr. Speaker, sir. And how can some people come and contend the increase in penalties meted out to such offenders? What should we do, Mr. Speaker, sir, in the face of these appalling figures? Des centaines de millions ont été dépensés pour de nombreux ajouts et mécanismes visant à assurer la sécurité de nos concitoyens sur nos routes. Et nous ne pouvons pas nous arrêter en si bon chemin. Notre devoir envers la population est de promouvoir et s'assurer un système de transport sûr et efficace, et cela requiert une approche favorisant un déplacement en toute sécurité. Beaucoup d'efforts ont été consentis et vont se poursuivre car mon ministère, à travers le TMA reçu, s'est vu confier plusieurs responsabilités récemment quant à la maintenance de panneaux de signalisation et de marquage de route, le but étant de faire de nos routes encore plus sûres. Ces amendements ne se sont pas faits sur un coup de tête. Il y a tout un travail qui a été fait par les techniciens du ministère et le TMA reçu pour que les amendements aient l'effet souhaité, quand nous voulons que les gens soient plus responsables sur nos routes et adoptent des bonnes habitudes. Les law-abiding citizens n'ont rien à craindre de ces nouveaux amendements, quand notre seul objectif est de faire de sorte que nos routes soient plus sûres. C'est très réducteur d'entendre certains parler de répression. Non, Monsieur le Président, sauver les vies ne peut être assimilé à la répression, quand la route est un espace commun, un espace de partage qui appartient à nous tous. Mr. Speaker, sir, je vais parler des ajustements que nous avons faits et que nous allons proposer à la Chambre. Et c'est dans un souci de proportionnalité, tout en tenant compte, comme je l'avais mentionné plus haut, que certains montants n'avaient pas été révisés depuis belle lurette et il fallait réajuster les pénalités. Following consultations held and taking into account views and representations made, Mr. Speaker, sir, I will move for amendments at committee stage to review some of the penalties and to harmonize same. I also propose to review downwards the list of offences being captured under the cumulative road traffic offences. Monsieur le Président, the amendments are being circulated. I wish to show my appreciation for the emphasis laid by the Prime Minister on road safety and his direct involvement in the matter. This demonstrates the commitment of this government to promote a road safety culture, and even the Prime Minister's office provided assistance in the different sensitization campaigns carried out on the matter. Je le maintiens, Monsieur le Président, le but de ces amendements est d'abord et surtout pour mieux protéger la population, et c'est surtout ceux qui font fi de nos lois. J'ai terminé. Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président.